What happens when you have a bus that runs like rail? You get Bus Rapid Transit, service that moves you faster and is environmentally friendly. Top-of-the-line platforms.
I'm sick and tired of Metro educating me with my money.
Vehicles that zip through intersections while others wait for the traffic.
Wait a second, is that even true?
Welcome to the Houston region Metro Rapid.
The only BRT even being built right now in Houston is in Uptown, and the councilman's office there says there are no plans to preempt traffic lights for the buses to zip by. Quoting, City of Houston traffic signalization will be bus-friendly, which means there is no preemption in the current signal system. If Metro says they want to really end congestion, I've got a hunch that constantly stopping traffic lights in busy Uptown for buses probably isn't the smartest way to do it. Metro has spent $2.8 million in just the last 2 months on ads. Let's be honest, we all know the truth. They're trying to convince us how great their plan is, so we'll go into the ballot box on November 5th and say, sure, what do I care? Another $3.5 billion in debt. Here at Dolcefino Consulting, we cherish education, so here's some math. Metro's budget for next year, are you sitting down? $1.3 billion.
Approving our budgets is one of the most important things that the board does every year. And today, we're going to talk about $1.3 billion.
That's an increase of $136.1 million in just 1 year. That's their document. We'll be deluged with ads in the next few weeks to influence our vote in the coming election. Metro plans to spend $6.7 million more on what they call Metro Next education, just in time for the vote, I bet.
Those are items such as allowances for Metro Next and preparation for the referendum of $9.3 million.
But we say we should not be spending needed taxpayer money just to get us out to vote yes. And it gets messier.
Okay. I think it's a good budget.
The Metro Board Chairman Patman and her husband have pledged $100,000 so far to get you to vote yes on a political action committee funded in part by the very folks who make all the money if the bond is passed. Look at this. Patman is even soliciting money from contractors who will make money from your yes vote. Companies in that Metro PAC have also given Mayor Turner more than $400,000 in contributions. We wanted to see the emails between the mayor and his Metro Board Chairman, Ms. Patman. We know they exist, but Metro wants to keep most of them secret. Get this, quoting, the emails were sent or received by Ms. Patman as a member of the public and not in her official capacity as chair of Metro's board of directors. Okay, that is creative. I remember that one of my favorite subjects in school was history. And it kind of reminded me of some of the promises Metro made to us the last time they put their hands in our pocket. I know they say no new taxes, but debt is money too. We found this educating stuff from the last bond referendum back in 2003. That time they called it Metro Solutions.
In 2003, Metro developed a plan with community input, and the voters blessed it in a referendum.
We were going to get up to 72 miles of rail, remember? Including a commuter train to Fort Bend County. Well, we do have some rail today, 3 lines, a total of 22 miles of light rail. Less than a third of what they told us we were going to get. And that commuter line, well, it just didn't happen. We do have some fancy new transit centers, 5 of them. Oops. The 2003 referendum said we would have 9 new ones. Some folks might call that broken promises. I kind of like to think of it as gross exaggeration because government does that all the time, which is one of the reasons I never vote yes on blank checks.
To read a measurement, extend your tape measure across the space of what you want to measure.
There's also what I call the tape measure scandal in Uptown. The first BRT Metro is rolling out. You've seen the headline in the Chronicle about the lanes being measured wrong. But wait, it gets so much better. See this new barricade at the corner of Boulevard Place and Post Oak? This is what was there a few weeks ago. A safety lighting design feature, they call it, custom made, and it sure is pretty. Metro sent AECom out to check it out in July. Don't know what we were paying for these things, but they're experts at BRT. So listen to what they said. Quoting, "None of AECom experts have seen this type of treatment. All concur that the treatment is unusual and would pose a hazard." That's not good. You know why it's a hazard? Because it's 8 inches tall in the middle. Let's do some math.
Vehicles that zip through intersections.
That fancy bus, the entire rear suspension would have been ripped off as it zipped by, because the clearance on the bus is about 6 inches.
Start by extending your tape measure.
Doesn't anyone have a tape measure over there? AECom recommends removing the feature and foregoing any similar raised features in the guideway for the entirety of the corridor. You think? While investigating that nonsense, AECom noticed the bus lanes were about 9.6 feet wide in some places, more than a foot narrower than they're supposed to be. That got the headlines, but finding out about it was an accident. We asked Metro how many times they've even inspected this $300 million uptown project, and they said they had no records for us. That's reassuring, isn't it? But Metro has crossed another line. It's that TV Ad Blitz, just weeks before an election. Flyers hitting all our doorways. That's not just education for Metro Next. Without the bond, there is no Metro Next. This is advocacy, pure and simple. They want you to think this time that their plan is so great, you'll vote yes. Come on, we all know that. There is a state law about government crossing the line when they're having an election. Quoting, "An officer of a political subdivision may not knowingly spend or authorize the spending of public funds for political advertising if the communication contains information that's sufficiently substantial and important as to be reasonably likely to influence a voter to vote for or against the measure." By the way, the crime is punishable by up to a year in county jail.
This proposal will not raise taxes.
I could wait for DA Kim Ogg to call Metro out. She should, but that won't happen. So we're filing a formal criminal complaint because someone has to cry foul. Another political action committee has now been formed to try to fight this half-baked plan and the millions that's going to be spent to get it passed.
There's obviously been very little planning on this, and to ask for $3.5 billion in order to do this, I think, is irresponsible. And that's why we named our PAC Responsible Houston. We're for responsible government.
I think it's time that Ms. Patman resign or get out of the lobbying business and the political action committee business.